views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello, everyone, and welcome to the Social Justice Forums. I am Daren, Jaime, and if you're asking the question what the Social Justice Forums are all about, well, we take a look at a lot of the inequities that people face. We talk about civic engagement. We get multiple points of view. We elevate the conversation with good discussion as well, and we invite you to be a part of it. So stay connected, because the Social Justice Forums begins right now. And welcome back to the show. Freedom Agenda is an organization that's advocating for the decarceration and for investments in communities that are too often disrupted by systems of punishment. And as well, the organization is now centered on transforming communities historically disrupted by systems of racism through policy shifting, public education, and direct action. Joining me now to share more details, we are pleased to be joined by the co-director of Freedom Agenda, Daren Mack. And Daren, good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, when Daren meets Daren, it's a good thing. Let me go right at it and talk a little bit about decarceration, because obviously we know that a big challenge across our country is mass incarceration. And the work that you're doing is really looking at how we can really make things better. So share with us a little bit about the mission of the organization.
Yes, so our organization is dedicated to decarceration in New York City, and survivors of Rikers Island like myself have been fighting and advocating and organizing for years to reduce not only the footprint of jails across the city, but also the population size. So in 2019, City Council passed legislation to move forward with closing all 10 jails on Rikers Island, including the boat, and just having 4 borough-based facilities in the city. So that's going from 14 jails across the city down to just 4. Currently, right now, we have about 15,000 beds across the city in our New York City jail system, and the plan will reduce that by at least by half to a maximum population of 3,300. This is a plan that's been on the table. This is a plan that this current mayor have been moving forward with, and we hoping to work with the next incoming mayor to move forward with that plan as well.
When we look at Rikers Island in particular, we know that the calls for the closure of Rikers Island are imminent. We see yet and still more incidents to continue to develop there. Are you optimistic that that Rikers will see that the doors close, and are you confident that the next mayoral administration will take it in that direction?
Yes, the next incoming mayor has stated, in public, that basically the closure of Rikers Island, that it needs to close. He stated that, he supports the borough-based plan, and we're going to hold him to that. And as advocates and organizers, we push and pull elected officials to keep their word. So we're willing to work with the incoming mayor and his administration to keep their word. But right now, as you mentioned, the crisis that's happening in New York City jail system, with 16 people losing their lives and so many more harming themselves, so many more not getting the medical care, attention that they need. We need to really take emergency action to address this human rights crisis, to deal with the situation that we currently have. And we're calling on this administration to work with the next administration to decarcerate now.
Yeah. Have you taken a look at the COVID-19 statistics and seen how incarceration has played out throughout the course of COVID-19? Are we seeing more people become incarcerated? Because I hear conflicting reports. Some people say the data shows that there were less arrests and less incarceration. We've heard on the other side that there have been more arrests and more incarceration. From your perspective, give us your take.
Well, this past year, there has been, since the COVID releases, the population was actually dropped to about 3,800 people detained in New York City jail system. And then there was an uptick during the summer to about almost like 5,800. But currently right now, we're seeing the downtick once again that's happening. So the population in New York City jail system is about 5,400. And this is like, one of the things that we've been pushing, because there has been alarms about the resurgence of COVID within within the New York City jail system. As we know, there's a new variant, in the country, and so one way to we could deal with that to flatten the curve for people getting affected is to address this crisis by decarceration.
Mhm. And so, in your own ideal way, how would you see this process playing out?
Yeah, so there's many things that can happen. Like for one, there's a successful program called the 6A Early Release Program that actually has supervised release for people who either serve a city year sentences. That could be expanded to more people. DAs and judges. Unfortunately, DAs and judges have been requesting not bail, but basically ransom on people. Who we know that most people incarcerated in our system are not wealthy. They're black and brown, come from low income and poor communities. So who has $50,000, $100,000, $1 million just lying around for bail? So there has been bail reform, but unfortunately, judges haven't been assessing people's ability to pay bail, and unfortunately, putting ransoms on people because it's not a bail. If you set $1 million bail on somebody that don't have $2, it's a ransom. So eliminating that, and letting people out and letting people, it's been plenty of evidence where people have been released and just go back to the community, go back to work, go back home, and return to court. So I think DAs and judges need to really evaluate what they're doing, because basically sending people to Rikers Island right now is a death sentence.
Yeah. And we know that we've heard the stories, of course, most notably Khalif Browder, among so many, and then a recent, another incident right there. What has been your response in terms of hearing from elected officials, dealing with elected officials when it comes to the issue of Rikers? You have many that say that they're on board, and I've talked with some, and they say that, there's still some things they want to weigh out.
Many city council members and incoming city council members have been clear that one, Rikers needs to close. But to address this crisis right now, those elected officials who are in office, they have to push this mayor to pull all the levers that we can pull to decarcerate. Work with grass-based organizations like Exodus Transitional Service, like Bronx Connect, like the Cure of Violence, and to stop the feeding the pipeline, into the system. There's been a lot of sexual programs that have been working that need to be resourced even more to stop the pipeline to prison and to help people on a reentry back into our community safely so they can return back to their court, because people need to remember that the majority of people in our New York City jail system have not been convicted of crime. They're there because they can't pay bail.
Right. And I think that's a major issue to talk about, that you have people who are under the guise of the law, innocent until proven guilty, and yet and still they cannot simply pay bail. But it almost feels as though that by the fact that they can't pay bail, that guilty is the charge that they've been dealt with. So where do we go from here, and how do you see things playing out with your organization? I know that you're strong in the area of advocacy for policy changes and also the reuse of Rikers Island and other jail facilities.
Yeah, so from here, the first steps to all elected officials, all grassroots organizations, to one, decarcerate, pull all the levers that we need to decarcerate, utilize, expand the 6A program. Judges and DAs really evaluate people's ability to pay. And then, if you're going to set a bail, set that. So those two things, along with working with organizations on the ground that's serving some of the most challenged and historically under-resourced communities, we need a city budget that's going to be addressing the roots of criminalization and incarceration in our community, because we're not going to end mass incarceration until we make mass investments. So hopefully this month, those recommendations will be published by the Commission of Community Reinvestments impacted by Rikers Island. And we hope that the next incoming mayor take those recommendations seriously so we can move forward with the closure of Rikers Island, with healthy communities, and with a society that could remove the stain that we have.
Yeah, Darren, you spoke a few seconds ago about the 6A program. Please make our viewers a little bit more aware of what the 6A program calls for.
Yeah, so the 6A program is an early release program for people who basically have city sentences of a year or less. Currently, there's probably about a little over 100 people right now who have could apply to this program and get in. And then there's other avenues, ways that we could actually start reducing this population about 2,000 people with just like opening up different programs, open up, sending people to, transition into housing. Because a lot of times sending people to therapeutic settings instead, because there's a high number of people inside our New York City jail system who have serious mental health issues. They shouldn't be in jail. They should be in a therapeutic setting in order to address their mental health crisis. So pulling all those levers to get people out of the human rights crisis that Rikers is now, because it's the longer that we keep Rikers Island open, the inevitability that another person is going to die.
Are you optimistic in 2022 that we will see decarceration? Obviously, we know that we're still navigating this COVID-19 pandemic, and a lot of things are on the agenda for legislative matters. But when it comes to this, we know that this was something that's occurred before, but and has been dealt with before. But a lot of stuff has also experienced delays and also being put on the back burner. But when we talk about decarceration altogether, it's got to be a priority, if you will, for a new administration coming in, if we're going to see this thing happen swiftly.
Absolutely, I totally agree, because even the mayor's chief medical officer that oversees the New York City jail system, he's been calling for decarceration. Even the Board of Corrections, which is an independent body that oversees the Department of Corrections, has been calling for decarceration. Advocates, public defenders, been calling for decarceration. And the man, unfortunately, has been not listening to other. The only person he's been listening to is the outgoing police commissioner, who's been lying to the public, spreading fear about bail reform, and that it has a connection to an uptick that occurred in the summer of crime, where there's no evidence at all, for bail reform having a connection to the uptick of crime during the summer. And in fact, the mayor hasn't really called his police commissioner out, but he's outgoing. The public has started to realize that bail reform need to be implemented, that we can decarcerate safely, and crime is still going down in New York City, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And yeah, so I'll end it with that.
Yeah, are you optimistic, given the fact that we are going to see a new mayoral administration? Eric Adams will be taking over, and then also his appointment of a new police commissioner, a woman of color. How do you feel about that?
Optimistic is the word that I would utilize. I would say that, because no matter who's the mayor, no matter who's the commissioner, we're going to do, as advocates and organizers have been doing for the last several years, is to continue to advocate for decarceration, to continue to advocate for the closure of Rikers Island, to address conditions of confinement with the borough-based plan. And if we have to push and pull, then we're going to do that. If we have, and the public, New Yorkers, I believe New Yorkers believe in justice and fairness, and the plan that's on the table currently right now is a plan that can move towards that, and with a specific deadline. And the incoming mayor had expressed, support of closure and moving forward the borough-based plan, and we're going to hold them to that.
All right. Well, before we go, I want to have the opportunity to let our viewers find ways to be connected to you, if they want to support the work and the advocacy that you're doing. How do they go about doing that?
Yeah, so you can actually email me at dmack@urbanjustice.org. You could go to our website, that's fa.urbanjustice.org, or you can go to our social media, which is at Freedom Agenda NY.
All right. So, Darren, I want to thank you for being with us and sharing a little bit about the work that's going on. Certainly a lot of great work. We're going to hear about decarceration a lot in the year 2022. I know there are advocates that are calling for it. I know the mayor is going to have to confront it. And the question is whether or not we're going to actually see it. Darren Mack, thank you so much for being with us and sharing with us here on the Social Justice Forums.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we're taking a quick break, but guess what? We got more show. Don't go anywhere. The Social Justice Forums continues right after this.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at BronxNet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
If you're struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311. That's 833-511-0311. When taking public transportation, don't touch your phone. Carry hand sanitizer and use it immediately upon leaving the bus or train. Avoid touching your face. If someone is coughing or sneezing, move away. Wash your hands with soap and water as soon as possible. Limit contact with poles. If possible, avoid rush hour. Don't eat or drink on public transportation. Keep your bag off the floor or other surfaces. Avoid directly touching turnstiles. Stay up to date with the latest from your local health department and CDC.
And welcome back. First Workings is a not-for-profit organization that's actually diversifying the talent pipelines at major companies with programs for high schoolers to acquire social capital. Now, the organization's mission is to connect New York City high schoolers from underrepresented backgrounds and put them with mentorships, paid opportunities, as well as career readiness workshops. Sharing more details, we are pleased to have with us the Executive Director of First Workings, Linda Nguyen. And Linda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here, Darren. Appreciate it.
Thank you for talking with us. And when we talk, I know that you're working in partnership with New York City high schoolers and putting them on a path to a better life. And share with us a little bit about it.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, we work with underrepresented high school students in New York City. And our main mission is to help them build social capital. So, what that really looks like is placing them in an internship or a mentorship where they have the opportunity to grow and learn from the person that they're working with. I think that what we do really impacts companies because companies are looking for diverse talent, while students are also looking for experiences that are going to help them get into the workforce. And when you look at companies and how they hire, 85% of the jobs that are filled based on a peer connection. And on top of that, what we offer is a paid internship because we really believe in paid experiences. And if you have a paid internship under your belt, you are 72% more likely to get that first job.
And so there is this huge value for interns, the ability for them to have exposure, but then really also marrying that together with social capital.
Yeah, and social capital, having that in your pocket is being able to be in the room when you're not even there, having your name mentioned, being exposed to opportunities and having the resources to get to those opportunities that you want to get to, whether it's while you're in college or even after college. And we really think that by creating this opportunity for our students and working with these industry professionals who are then becoming lifelong mentors for our students, we are creating impact, and it really shows in our outcomes. In fact, 90% of the people that we work with in any organization, any company across various industries say that they will write a letter of recommendation for our students, whether it's in college or going off to a job. And 100% of our students recommend our program to their peers because they see the value in building their social capital.
And so for you, you have the opportunity to work with front and center with young people. And sometimes these young people don't have the necessary connections, and they don't have the connections to the jobs. They don't have the connections in the area of exposure. But can you give us a little bit more of an insight into what are some of the challenges that these young people face that maybe we may not be so familiar with?
Yeah, so having been a young person myself and having been in our student shoes and having family or personal responsibilities, it makes it really hard to have another extracurricular activity where you are able to work. So I think that's one of the barriers to entry. And another barrier is some of the internships that are offered are unpaid. So I think one of the things that First Workings does, and we do really well, is that we offer paid internships because we know that paid work is really important, and a paid experience also adds to the level of work that the student is getting. It not only makes them feel like they are in a position that is very similar and on par to other who are getting paid to do the work, but they're learning and earning at the same time, which we think has its benefits.
Yeah. And so for yourself, an Asian American mother, single mother, really trying to navigate through, you bring a context of experience too that you can be able to pass on. Share with us how you're able to bring some of your life history into your work.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly had my fair share of interesting experiences as a young adult and navigating the difficulties of finding a job and finding what career I wanted to land in. When I was younger, I wanted to be a police officer, and I really relate that want and desire to be a cop to having worked in my parents' nail salon. It was like right there near Bronx County Court, and every day I would meet a new professional in law, and I thought in my head, this is what I want to do. And throughout that time period, having gone to high school and college and being exposed to different internships and different people, I've worked in a variety of industries that are not related to law at all. I ended up in television and media as my first job while I was in college, and then worked in technology and landed in nonprofit workforce development. And when you look at the themes of my work, it really relates back to wanting to help people. So I think it's really important for young people to know that there are other career pathways besides the one that you truly think that you may want to go into, and being able to broaden your horizons, whether it's through a program like First Workings or through other professionals that are able to help you figure that out, it's really important.
Yeah. And for yourself, I know yourself and the organization had to have a major pivot due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Talk about how you guys adapted to still be able to provide reasonable services in the midst of some troubled times.
Yeah, the pandemic was a really hard time for everyone, and for First Workings, it pushed us to really develop a program that was still equitable for our students to have the experiences that we think are beneficial for them. So our internship program before the pandemic was all on hands. Was in person, and now that we're thrown into the virtual setting, we developed one-on-one mentorships where students are matched with an industry professional or an industry that they really see themselves in. Our outcomes are still really good. We have 98% of match rate, which means that our students' first and second choices are the people that they're being able to be matched with. And I think that one thing that really came out of the pandemic that we observed was that we wanted to grow student skills right after they have completed high school. So what that looks like is while a student is in college and getting their first job, we want to be a part of that journey. So what we were able to do was come up with skills, hard skills that we think companies need. And we worked with companies to figure out, are these skills that you want students to have besides soft skills? What do they look like? So we've developed a program on Excel, R, Python, where our industry professionals are coming back to teach our students on some of the skills that are going to help them land that first job. So I think while the pandemic was a really tough time, it allowed us to be in this new space where we are growing and serving more young adults.
And for you, honestly, serving more young adults is the key, and it's critical to have the opportunity to see these young people blossom and take advantage of these things that are right before them. I want to ask about particular trends because you said matching them up. Are there anything that you can see in terms of trends of what young people wanted to really engage in during a time like this?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked this question because what we've noticed in our data from First Working's inception in 2015 to now is that the growth of students who are interested in STEM has quadrupled. And that is a really need to be doing more skills in STEM, which is kind of justifies why we've developed programs in Excel, R, coding and programming programs specifically. And what we also noticed is that there's a need for companies to be matched with diverse talent. And that's what First Workings is bringing to the table. We're bridging the gap between students who need these experiences to get through the door and also companies who might need a pipeline for diverse talent.
So for the future, how do people get in touch and be connected? Who can be a part of the program?
Yeah, so if you are an educator or work in the school system and want to be connected to First Workings, we're always looking to grow our school partnerships. We currently work with 16 schools all throughout New York City. Hit us up at firstworkings.org. You can also email me at linda@firstworkings.org. If you are a potential corporate partner, you're someone who wants to get involved, you want to offer skills or volunteer with our program, please also connect with us. We're always looking to grow in new industries. We currently work with over 90 corporate partners, and we're always looking to grow in that space.
Amazing. And out of your corporate partners, how's it been, developing relationships with them? Because we know that right now corporations are really going through a challenging time. Good help is hard to find, So what's it been like working with corporate partners?
Our corporate partners are great. They offer a lot of different skills and skilled talent for our students. In the way that we have pivoted, I think that's really impacted our relationship with the partners as well, because if they're not in person, our students can't be in person. So currently, we're actually working with our partners to figure out what the new program cycle will look like next year. So what we're thinking is if our partners are on site, that's the experience that we want our students to have, because this is the new way of the world. And I think that it really prepares our students as well. Prior to the pandemic, only 2% of the workforce was working from home. Now you're seeing that number grow to 70%. So students will really need to understand that hybrid experience or full-on remote experience.
Yeah. And so students are really being challenged these days, given the fact that they're trying to navigate this pandemic and really finding their way upward. But what advice do you give to students, and what advice have you shared with students on how to really navigate these turbulent times?
So I think the first piece of advice would be try to connect with people. And in a virtual environment, you kind of have the upper hand here because there are so many devices and so many platforms that you could utilize. LinkedIn is a great platform to just reach out and ask professionals for a virtual coffee. Glassdoor, Indeed, all of these platforms are really good just to do research on a company. And the next thing I'll say is actually do some boots on the ground work. I know that there's a lost art between communication sometimes and trying to get your name out there. Sometimes just going door to door, meeting with professionals and saying, hey, I'm a young student. I'm really interested in what you do. Do you have an internship program? Am I able to meet with you for coffee? Because I want to learn more about what you do. I think having that face-to-face connection is still really important, even in a virtual setting.
Yeah. And so for people who want more information, please take it away and let us know.
So for people who want more information, if you're looking to partner with us as a school partner for any educators out there, people who work within the school community, please reach out to us. We currently work with 16 schools all throughout New York City, but we're always looking to grow. You can find more information on our website at firstworkings.org. For any employers or corporate partners out there who may want to partner with us to train our students or sponsor our program, we are always looking to grow that community as well. So you can also look for us on firstworkings.org.
Talk to us about what you expect and what you're looking for from your company before we go.
Sure. So right now we're in a really exciting time. We've seen our applications double from last year, which means that we are hoping to serve double the amount of students that we have served last year. Last year we served about 80 students. This year we're looking to serve 150. We also have really big goals for a small organization. In the next 3 years, we want to grow to 300 students served. So all of these goals that we have, we're now putting some game plan and some goals into place just to help us get there. So one of those ways, as you asked, is growing our school partnerships, growing our employer network and our corporate partners, but also leveraging just the realities of the pandemic and trying to figure out how are we going to create more impact and create more equitable experiences, even through a virtual setting.
Wow. Linda, we got to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us and sharing great work that FirstWorks is doing. And glad to have you with us here on the Social Justice Forums.
Thank you so much for having me, Darren.
All righty. Well, we got to take a quick break here on the Social Justice Forums. We do have more show. Don't go anywhere. We return coming up right after this.
know that people are dealing with the health crisis, but there's also a lot of food insecurity.
We're giving out healthy food options, and that's what's key here.
If you're a senior, you have a disability, they'll actually deliver meals to you.
The residents are anxious, they're worried, they're scared, they want to be tested.
When things were happening in our community, and we couldn't get the help.
There's almost a presumption of criminality that attaches to your skin color.
The site will prioritize those who are at highest risk in the population.
If you feel symptoms and you'd like to visit one of these COVID-19 testing sites here in the Bronx, you may call the State Health Department's hotline.
Important to note about this site is no reservations are needed. This is a walk-in clinic.
A lot of us are out of work and looking for something to do.
We have the machinery and the skills to make large scales of these masks and gowns.
Take care of your people. It's going to go way further than we actually can understand.
Right now, employees like myself are just adjusting to the new reality.
And welcome back to the show. The Black community has been hard hit, particularly by the COVID-19 pandemic, killing Black people at a substantially higher rate than any other population in America. Now, Choose Healthy Life is an initiative to fortify community infrastructure in order to address the COVID pandemic within the Black community, as well as strengthening local networks, increasing long-term community resilience, and saving lives. Joining me now to share and discuss more is the Associate Pastor of Canaan Baptist Church of Christ and social activist, Reverend Jacques DeGraff, and then also the founder of Choose Healthy Life and National Black Leadership Commission on AIDS, Debra Fraser-Howze. And we thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
And so I will start off with you, and we'll talk first, Debra, and talk a little bit about where we are right now. As we know, COVID-19 continues to have huge impact dealing with new variants and the like, but particularly when it comes to the issue of communities of color, more particularly African Americans, things seem to remain the same. So give me a little bit of your perspective and the work that you're doing.
Well, there's some good news. And then there's some not so good news. And the good news is that amongst our senior citizens, people that are anywhere between, I don't want to say seniors of 50, but 50 and up, they're getting vaccinated. They're getting vaccinated at good numbers. Those that are 25 to 35 is the group of people that we have to worry about most. We've got residual impact from COVID-19. Not only do we have the highest rates of death in the country from COVID-19, but we also now have 140,000 children who have lost a primary or secondary parent to COVID. So we're going to have orphan children with high death rates, coupled with the fact that the life expectancy for Black men has already decreased by 3 years. Which is a phenomenal number. These new variants that are coming into the country, and people were questioning whether or not we had them. Not to be questioned. As long as we remain a global community, and we will get every variant everybody else gets. So we should expect that. We should guard against it by getting vaccinated. Vaccinations is the that's available to us to actually protect us from the variants and this very terrible virus.
Yeah. Reverend DeGraff, I know one of the ways of getting the message out for vaccination and also awareness has been the church. So share with us a little bit about how you've been engaged and the church's response really to helping to deal with this pandemic.
Darren, thanks. It's a great question. The first thing you have to realize is that this pandemic has exposed, it's ripped the cover off of health disparities. They've existed before the pandemic. Our community always suffered maladies, health maladies at disproportionate rates. Why? Because the health system in America has failed us. And we've done in New York what we've always done, we turn to the church. And so Debra's vision has now permeated the country and the Black church. And in New York City, we have 20 churches that are involved in an exciting initiative. It's not just about a message on Sunday morning. It's about a financed, full-time person, a healthcare navigator, to help educate the community, to make sure we get vaccinated, but then to lead the work on an ongoing basis to end the health disparities. In effect, what we're saying is we're taking this valley moment and turning and pointing towards the mountaintop from whence cometh our help. We're looking to empower our communities by taking this crisis and flipping the script, if you will, by getting information, education, and resources. We've partnered with Quest Diagnostics, the United Way, and the federal government has recognized this Black church effort. And Darren, one important part is, you know, a lot of us who are in the church, we think that my church is the most important church. And extend that out, it's my denomination is the most important denomination. But we have 20 churches across the city. It's interdenominational. We have AMEs and we have Presbyterians. We have Baptists and we've got Pentecostal. And so what we have done is created a network in New York. The national leaders are Reverend Al Sharpton and Reverend Calvin O'Butts. Debra is our Joan of Arc in this fight, but she's done it before with AIDS. And so when she made the call again, the response was tremendous across the country. In New York, we're in the Bronx, we're in Staten Island, we're in Far Rockaway, we're all over town. And it's an exciting venture because it's going to go beyond COVID. And this network is being built on sustainability, and that's where we are right now.
Reverend DeGraff, Darren, Reverend DeGraff is doing a fabulous job as the leader in New York City. We also have Choose Healthy Life, which is the name of the program. We also have a Choose Healthy Life in Atlanta, in Detroit, Michigan, in Washington, DC, and in Newark, New Jersey. And we started out with 50 churches across those 5 cities. We are now in 120 churches in 13 states across the country.
Awesome. And I know that the work is very necessary, very needed. But when you talk about our community, we know that the COVID-19 pandemic started off on a bad foot. We knew that there was bad messaging to come out of governmental agencies, and that really added to the distrust that a lot of people really continued to feel while the pandemic was going forward. When the vaccination was first being introduced, we talked about healthcare disparities and that whole trust factor. So Debra, let me come back to you and talk a little bit about how do you deal with debunking a lot of the myths, the stereotypes, the things that you know that our people pretty much have hinged themselves on in terms of not getting vaccinated and not doing the necessary things health-wise that can better their outcomes.
Well, you know, the disinformation is rampant whenever we have pandemics and epidemics like this. If we go back to AIDS, remember all of that disinformation. Black people didn't get AIDS. It was only a white gay man's disease. You get AIDS from going to the bathroom behind somebody or kissing or hugging or touching. And we had to work for decades to debunk all of that so we could get to the point that when the medications became available, we could tell our community, take the medication so you will not die. And look at what has happened with that. So we're in that same moment, that same ecclesiastic season where we have to be very, very clear. There's no reason why our people should not be skeptical and should not be afraid. I do want our people to be skeptical of any new thing that comes up, but I want them to get the facts. And the facts and the data prove a point. God also made medicine. He made the medicine for people with AIDS, and now he's got this vaccine out here for us so that we could stay alive. When you look at the data, no one that's vaccinated is dying from COVID. The vaccines don't keep you from getting COVID because you could still get breakthrough COVID, but it'll stop you from dying. It'll stop you from going into the hospital, being put on a ventilator, and not being able to breathe again. That's what's important about this vaccine. And what is happening is that there's a selfishness that's going on. We've always been the kind of people who care for community. And it's not just about you or me, but it's everybody that I'm in contact with. It's everybody that I live with. It's the children in my life that I have to be concerned about. That's why you go out and get vaccinated. So we have to debunk these myths. You know, people think that if you take the vaccine, you'll become infertile. You won't be able to have babies. You know, somebody could put a magnet on your arm and and the magnet will stay there because it's magnetized. They're tracking us. You know, they're tracking me with my cell phone. I want them to give me something that's going to keep me alive, and this happens to be it for the moment. And we need to take it because we can't afford to lose another brother or sister to this or anything else.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you there. And, you know, we have to increase the testing. We have to increase vaccinations. And, Reverend DeGraff, I know that is part of what the church's responsibility has been in responding to this, being vaccination sites, being vaccination clinics, and being an advocate to really talk about testing and awareness. From your perspective, how have churches, and I know you can't speak for all churches, I'm very well aware of that, but how have churches really been the one to, the response, if you will? What do you think the church's response in this pandemic has been like?
Well, the first thing is that we have to recognize that our experience in America causes us to pause about anything that's new. No matter what the ribbon looks like, we have to look at it differently than other communities because of our experience in America. Having said that, you've heard me, and I've said this on other occasions, we trust the science. It's the scientists that we've had problems with. The Tuskegee experiment is not the first time that we've been abused or misused, and it's not the last time. If you talk to Black women, our mortality rate in New York City is off the hook. And it's been off the hook, despite all the new science. And so our folk ask questions, and others make the mistake of not meeting people where they are. We have to respect the intelligence of a community that has survived in the belly of the beast for over 200 years. And so when we meet people where they are, then you present them with the fact. Because remember, the difference between now and when Debra was leading us against the fight against AIDS is this phenomena of social media. People have a title and they put something out there, and if you're not informed, Dr. So-and-so sounds the same as Professor So-and-so. But now the Black doctors have spoken. Now Black church is speaking, and so we've been able to move the needle. It's who do you trust? Used to be the name of a TV show, Darren, but it's the name of a phenomenon now in our community. In times of storm, we go to the rock, and the rock in our community is the Black church. And Debra's genius, if you will, has been being culturally competent and intelligent and speaking to people in ways they can hear. When people repeat a lot of what some of us now consider nonsense, it's their deeply held belief. You can't just over somebody. You have to listen. You have to then present them with facts. But too many of us have seen too many people die. We've said goodbye to grandma on FaceTime. And you have to remember something, Darren, that you started out with. When this started, people didn't want to get tested. They thought the test was a white supremacist plot. And so we've come a mighty long way. And remember now, 800,000 Americans have died. But at the same time, 50,000 Americans have been vaccinated because of Choose Healthy Life. 7 million Americans have gotten the word because of Choose Healthy Life. And so it's an idea whose time has come, and it's not just about COVID. We're not going to be reduced to COVID. It's an empowerment program for our community.
Yeah. Debra, I'll go back to you about this because I wonder, because there's a lot of people right now who have adopted this mindset. I really am trying to work with some people who've adopted this mindset because they said, listen, COVID has come. Without being vaccinated. They said, listen, I've done all right. They got a new variant. I wrote out, quote unquote, the worst. So no need for getting vaccinated. No need for me to take it another step further. But we know differently. And I know that part of what you're doing right now is addressing that. And, you've got the Community Solutions Action Plan. So I want you to share a little bit about that action plan and what you'd like to see occur through that.
Well, the action plan is actually a compilation of the clergy that form the clergy council, of which Reverend DeGraff is a part, under Reverend Butts and Reverend Sharpton. The clergy come together regularly to discuss what's needed, to look at what the churches are doing, to make recommendations, and to chart us on the right course. The other thing about the community action plan, we work very closely with the United Way, and the United Way has created a template, I would say, for the churches to look at what activities are you going to do in your community that's going to reach a certain number of people with the right message, with the correct message. Who else do we need to bring in? Do we need to bring in the National Medical Association? Are there any doctors in your church that belong to the National Medical Association that can stand up on Sunday or be a part of your web service as you are using these video services for your regular Sunday services? Are there people there who can help us in the community? Who are the people down the block in the projects? Who knows how to get into the project and talk to the people and go into the community room and hold a meeting regularly in the projects to give out information? Can we do leafleting? Can we do other sort of knock on the door, contact direct? These are the people in the community and this action plan that takes the actions to the ground level and carries them out. And as Reverend DeGraff says, this is not just about COVID. We are meeting millions and millions of people all over the country that have all sorts of health issues. And one of the reasons why we died so quickly and at such great number was because we were so sick to begin with. So we have, people keep talking about, let's go back to normal. We have to get back to normal. And we always say at Choose Healthy Life, we're not going back to normal. We died in normal. We have to go back to the future where we do not die. We have to take care of ourselves so that we do not die. So that those things are part of the action plan. But it's not just COVID. That's going to be the plan moving forward. We have to address hypertension. We have to address diabetes. We have to address asthma in our communities where we have a lot of bronchial breathing problem. We have to address obesity. We have to address all those things that put us at greatest risk of death from this for this pandemic, because this is not the last pandemic. And for your friends who are telling you, oh, I made it through, you have not made it through yet. This is not over. These variants are coming at us left and right. We're going to be with COVID for a very long time. And then after COVID, it's going to be something else very similar to COVID. Get vaccinated. This is not a game. You can't play Russian roulette with your life. And that's what people are doing. That say, oh, I've made it so far. I had somebody tell me they made it the other day, and I got a call this morning that they have COVID. So you don't make it. You don't slip through like that. And there's no reason for you to play games with the people you live with and love and take care of. Take care of everybody by taking care of yourself.
Darren, there's one thing I think is important to add to what Debra has just told us, and that is this. When people say the preachers and the church, we want you to know that we didn't start out being scientific medical experts on this. We had to bone up. We had to meet with Dr. Fauci. We had to meet with the First Lady. We had to meet with the leaders of CDC repeatedly. It wasn't a one-off seminar or a workshop. We've been doing this over the course. So the passion that we speak from is informed passion. And the equation to expand Deborah's response is, it's not enough that you wrote out the first wave. Okay, the question also needs to be, would you threaten your grandmother? Do you love your nieces and nephews? Would you play roulette with their lives? Because you can be perfectly asymptomatic and pass it on to somebody that you love. And then, I'm sorry. I'm sorry doesn't cure a lot of things. It certainly doesn't cure COVID.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot on the table. It's a lot on the table. So, Debra, before we get out of here, I want to have the opportunity for people who want to get connected. How do they go about getting connected with you?
They should go to our website, www.choosehealthylife.org. Choosehealthylife.org. Make it one word, .org.
All right. Reverend DeGraff, for pastors, ministers, faith leaders who want to get connected, what do they do?
Go to that same website and get ready. We'll be reaching back out to them. And remember that this is a fight where we come with resources. We come ready to rumble. And that's what I referred to when I talked about Quest and United Way and HRSA. We've got dollars, we've got people, and we've got God.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Reverend DeGraff, and thank you so much for joining us, Debra, for being with us and the work that you're doing and spreading the word and also keeping the good fight going. Thanks much.
God bless you,
God bless
Darren.
you.
All righty. Well, we want to let our viewers know that we have come to the end of our Social Justice Forum show right now. We want to thank you for joining. We pray that you have really had the opportunity to really learn and become involved and become engaged. We hope that you enjoyed the discussion. Next week, we come back with another episode where we elevate the discussion, continue bringing you much informed guests, and then also the topics. Now, if you want to join the conversation, you are more than welcome to share on our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. And of course, you can visit our website at BronxNet.org if you want more information. Well, we thank you for joining us here on the Social Justice Forums. I'm Daren Jaime. Until next time we meet, take care and God bless.